Meanwhile,
Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars are small planets.
You're listening to KMUZ Turner.
Mostly of rock and iron. Farther out, where it's colder, are the giant planets, made mostly of gas.
88.5 FM, that's 32 big watts on a big wooden pole overlooking Ankeny Hill, gateway to the 5 freeway.
But comets originate from a great cloud beyond the planets, almost halfway to the nearest star.
With simulcast on 100.7 FM, that's 34 different watts blasting out of a tree farm west of Rosedale.
Occasionally, one falls in, accelerated by the sun's gravity.
KMUZ, we blow the watts out of the woods to wet your radio whistle with weirdness.
Because it's made mostly of ice, a comet begins to evaporate as it approaches the sun.
Mid-Valley Mutations.
The vapor is blown back by the solar wind, forming the cometary tail. Then it's flung back into outer darkness, its orbit so large that it will not return for millions of years. These are the long-period comets, and for everyone plunging close enough to the sun to be discovered, there may be 1 billion others, slowly drifting beyond Pluto's orbit. Very rarely, a long-period comet is captured in the inner solar system, becoming a short-period comet. It passes near a major planet like Saturn. The planet provides a small gravitational tug, enough to deflect it into a much smaller orbit.
And you are listening to Mid-Valley Mutations, and it seems that we're under attack by comets from space, which is interesting considering that we have guests here in the studio tonight. It's one of those like fun evenings where we've got all sorts of people running around, and this week is no exception. We have Hugo Paris and Derek Hunter Wilson, who are kind of friends, collaborators, musicians, call it what you will. They're here to play and talk about some new music that's out today, as I understand it. These new albums are here, available for you to get. We're going to be talking about them and playing selections and things like that as the night goes on. But I think we're going to start with just something to set the tone, to set the mood, actually. Did you want to say anything about this before we get rolling, or do you want to just kind of let this play and we'll talk afterwards?
Yeah, it's just a choir boy band from Utah, which I like, and I think it's a great opener.
Okay, well, let's hear it. It's Mid-Valley Mutations, and it sounds like this.
Oh, no, it doesn't sound like it because it's not playing.
Technical difficulties. This is the best part of the beginning of the show. We get things set up. We're kind of like easing in. The clicks and the pops are all just part of the charm. But audience participation will be happening 503-990-6101. Give us a ring. Let us know how things are going. Maybe you want to play a little banjo along with us. That could be fun.
I guess my phone's out.
Oh no! Is it? I'm hearing something there.
Yeah, but it's coming out of my phone.
Oh, it's not. It's not coming through the cord. It's coming. Oh, I heard something. Still there. Okay. Well, why don't we switch over to something else over here? Derek, do you got something that we can switch to?
Let me go.
We'll get one tech's problem sorted out while we hear a different recording. Live radio is fun like this, but it's going to be live in other ways as well, because we're going to get a couple of performances out of these gentlemen as the evening progresses. So please stick around. It's KMUZ and Mid-Valley Mutations. And here we go.
Flowing river, cemetery. Pull me under so I can't breathe. Beneath the water, new life's redeemed. It is my gift not to give, but to receive. Finally pose beneath the pall of fallen leaves. The moon shines red in my blood now. Illuminating my parents' house. I see my childhood rewind. I lost my happiness somehow. The moon shines red in my blood now. Illuminating my parents' house. I see my childhood rewind. I lost my happiness somehow.
And you are listening to Mid-Valley Mutations.
Few comets are captured this way. Those that are become well known because they all return in relatively short intervals. Once trapped in the inner solar system, among the planets, the chances of another near collision are increased.
Mid-Valley Mutations.
We're just having a little bit of fun down here, and we have a couple of guests in the studio. It's Hugo R.A. Paris, who has a brand new record out, and to be playing at the Space here at the end of the month, and actually a bunch of other cool shows as well. And so we thought, rather than just trade messages online about this, we should actually have you in the studio to play and talk about this. So here you are. How's it going, Hugo?
Hey, Austin.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Absolutely. It's been a little while, actually. Which, since the last time you played at the Space, actually. So for people who maybe saw that and have been kind of getting a little itchy, this is your chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to say anything before you kick in, or do you want to just go? I mean, it's your show. You can make the call on this one.
Well, thanks for having me and having us with Derek.
Oh, yeah.
Today is Derek and I's release day. We both have a record coming out today on the same label, Beacon Sound.
That's pretty cool, too, because, sometimes when people have a label involved, they've gotten to that point in their career, they don't always get along with the other label mates. There's different interests involved. So when you actually meet people where you're like, wow, I like this music and I like what you're doing, it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, and I think we met and were friends before I was on the label as well. I think it was just Derek.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think the thing I really enjoy about the label Beacon Sound is that it also feels sort of like a community and a family, and there's a lot of, people are friends with each other as well as not just sharing label rosters. And it's great to share the release day with you.
Well, I think I've said this on the show before, but there's better ways to make money than through music if you wanted to just make money. So
completely,
when you are involved with people that are on the same wavelength and are kind of in the same art realm that you are, it's refreshing because it's like suddenly those things are not on the table. You can kind of like actually get to painting and actually get to playing piano.
Exactly.
You know, it's a good way to go. Well, speaking of, we should probably stop talking because that's the one way to ruin the mood. So let's get into some live music here. We have Hugo R.A. Paris, and do you want to say anything before we get going? Or?
Yeah, I'm going to be playing a couple pieces from the record, which is coming out today on Beacon Sound and Jackton Records. It's called Threaded Habitat, and you can get it through jacktonrecords.com and wearebeaconsound.com. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for listening to us.
Yeah, thank you.
りし鳥もきなきに逆ぞりし花も咲けど山をのみ入り手も取らず草深み取り手も見ず秋山の
All right. That was excellent. That was Hugo R.A. Paris here on Mid-Valley Mutations and KMUZ. Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. A good mood setter for the evening, you know. Very settling, you know. It's like, yeah.
Nice. I'm glad to hear that. It's my first time playing those tracks from the new record.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is the first time out with this material.
Yes.
Ah. So when I saw you before, a couple years ago, it really was kind of like your old stuff. Like this is like a line in the sand, like new territory, as they say.
Absolutely. I took some of the ambient background I had and some of the techno background I had, but I tried to make pieces that were more personal and had more of an emotional connection for me when playing them. And that's also why I switched to my birth name from my old stage name to my birth name.
Right, yeah. We didn't mention that up front, but you used to go by something else.
Mm-hmm. I used to go by Lavender.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I like that name, and I think it fit kind of the mood that you had at the time, but I also understand the maturing process that you're talking about, because this record is definitely going places that the other material wasn't. Like it has this kind of like mood to it where, I don't know, my thoughts really kind of sink into it.
Oh, great. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was kind of a technical challenge too, because I knew I couldn't bring all my equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just brought a small modular synthesizer here and just tried to play a couple of the pieces from the record with just that.
Yeah.
Versus using a keyboard and percussions and...
Yeah, kind of stripped down.
Yes, very stripped down. And thank you for having me, because it's a great way for me to learn
this is
how
kind
the
of
setup is going to work.
The trial run for the live shows, which are coming up this month. You've got a few of them.
Yes, I do. I have... So I'm playing on August 10th in Spokane.
Mm-hmm.
For a festival that's called Tapestry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's put together by Technological Taxidermy Crew,
right.
Who's a crew who focuses on giving people access to modular synthesizer tools and really synthesizers in general and the knowledge that comes with it, and opportunities in the Spokane area.
Right.
Which I used to live close to Spokane and drive hours to go to Spokane and have an escape there, so it's nice for me to go back now and actually
be a performer.
Yeah, very much so. And the people who organize it have been very, very kind. And then I'm playing August 16th in Seattle. I'm playing Gallery 1412.
Oh, very cool. That place is excellent.
It is lovely.
Yeah.
And I'll be playing with an amazing ambient artist whose name is Rahika. And we've played a couple times together, and it's always a great time. So
yeah, and if people don't know, and this name is not like ringing any immediate bells, this is a very special venue. Very cool events happen there. Very excellent shows. Like it's, you're going to have an excellent time going there. So let me pump the venue a little bit too.
Definitely a venue that should be pumped.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
And then August 30th, Salem. Thank you, Austin, for helping me.
Yeah. Well, and I noticed that Summer was watching live on the web stream. So thank you, Summer. And the Space always puts on some excellent shows. So that should be a fun night.
Yeah, and great food too. Derek and I were just there having dinner.
We were there for dinner, yeah. It was wonderful.
Oh, yeah. Well, Summer will love hearing that. She does the menu, so. Yeah, the food there is great. And we didn't really have anything like that in Salem until they opened up. So, like, it was good to have, like, a meatless alternative when you're kind of sick of those burgers. And you got something else, though, too, right?
Yeah, September 9th, San Francisco. I'll be playing Underground SF, which is a club in San Francisco, and it's a party. There's going to be a party there that's called Visions of a New World.
Oh, cool.
That's run by a friend of mine. His name is Blake, and it's all my friends from San Francisco hang out there, so I'm super excited to be back to... I used to live in San Francisco, and I have a strong connection, emotional and friends there, so I'm excited to be back.
Yeah, and it's a fun town. Let's be honest.
It is really fun. Yeah. And then from there, I'll be flying to France to spend time with family, but I'll play in Paris on September 16th.
Very cool.
At a modular synth store called Modular Square. And then TBA Bordeaux, and then Seattle on October 6th.
Wow.
I'll be playing the party for the artists of the Velocity Festival put together by Modular Seattle, an awesome crew from Seattle.
Whoa, yeah, I've heard of those guys, but I've never been to an event yet. So.
Very cool. You should check out Velocity. So the festival is October 5th, and I'm playing the after party on October 6th.
Nice.
And it's a day packed of amazing performers. Actually, Derek is playing with me on the 6th, and on the 5th, Amulets, who's also our label mate, is headlining.
Oh, wow. Nice. That's going to be like a family affair in a way.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And then two more. October 23rd, Portland with Derek. We're likely going to be playing Holocene, which I'm really looking forward to. And then October 25th, I'll be in Richland, Washington, where I used to live, and playing a show there. Because back when I lived there were not very many options to play music.
Right.
And to be exposed to music that was not anything else than country or country.
Right. I grew up in a small town in Oregon, and it's kind of the same vibe, where it's like, anything that's not like classic rock or country music, like people are going to look at you funny and go, "What's with your hair and the keyboard, kid?" Yeah. This is kind of interesting too, because on this album you're kind of using your real name. You're kind of moving away from the pseudonym, and then you're actually returning and playing now in towns that you used to live and have connections to. This must be kind of like a nice kind of like, I don't know, blossoming, like, coming out of the cocoon. Like, this is like kind of you kind of coming into your own in a way.
Yeah, I think so. It feels like that. And when I was in the Tri-Cities in Richland, Washington, or I would go to Spokane, I struggled because I really desired playing music and exploring musical avenues with people.
Right.
And there was a real shortage of people between 18 and 40.
Yeah, you had a lot of cover bands in the 40-year-old area, and then a lot of kids who were just learning their gear at the teenage level.
Yeah, and in between, people often move away for college, and then the chances, there's not that many people living there, so just the chances for more alternative music.
Right.
Back when I lived there weren't that strong. It's much better now.
Yeah, that's certainly the case for Salem too, where even when I moved here 4 years ago, there weren't as many options as there are now. And then my wife, who grew up here, she said like having a club like the Space, or there's a new place in town, the Graveyard, which is another competing bar that's putting on good shows, and like when she was in high school and afterwards, she said that kind of stuff didn't exist, or if it did, it was like a coffee shop where they sometimes let a show happen. So like to have like places like this where they used to be smaller towns allow different kinds of music to happen.
It's encouraging.
Yeah.
It
makes me feel like when the news is getting me down, it makes me feel a little better.
Need that.
Yeah. Well, we've been chatting and playing some stuff, and it's, oh my gosh, look at the time. I got to get to the weather computer and all sorts of things. So we'll have some more here in a little bit, but we got to do this weather computer. What have you got for us this week?
Thank you, Austin. This is the Mid-Valley Mutations weather computer, and here is a look at the local weather, brought to you by Hugo R.A. Paris. Check out the new album, Threaded Habitat, out now on Jackton Records. This sonic exploration of ancient and modern meditations on hypnosis and machines and the space in between is available on vinyl or digitally, the weather computer's preferred format. Get Threaded Habitat today. Absolutely essential listening for the upcoming election cycle. Tonight, a few clouds. Low near 61 degrees. You could sleep on the patio with the possums and raccoons, if you wanted. Winds north by northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour, with a 100% chance of me making the same ridiculous Cary Grant joke I make every single time. 10% chance of rain. Sunrise at 5:58 a.m. Tomorrow, mainly sunny, which is code for don't expect the clouds to completely roll away at first. High around 90 degrees. Brace yourself. Summer is coming. Winds north 10 to 15 miles per hour, with a 10% chance of rain. The dog days of summer, as it were. Enjoy them while they last. Sunset at 8:36 p.m. And that was a look at the local weather, brought to you by the weather computer, and Hugo R.A. Paris. Check out his stuff under the name Lavender. The weather computer quite enjoyed it. Anyway, let's get back to Austin and Mid-Valley Mutations.
And we're just having a little bit of fun here in the studio. It is KMUZ, and we're just playing some live music. You just heard an excellent set by Hugo R.A. Paris, some live renditions of stuff from the new album, which is out today. So we're very excited about that, and I think actually we're going to move to a recorded track while we kind of get the next thing prepared. Is this something that you're a fan of, or is this...
Yeah, it's something... Yeah, it's something I've been listening to a lot lately. It's the new Drop Majesty, which is one of my favorite bands.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, I'll just play one track of theirs, which I think is pretty amazing.
Yeah, excellent. And caller, if you are still out there listening, give us a ring. We'll put you on here in a moment. We just didn't want to interrupt the live music. So let's hear some music here on KMUZ and Mid-Valley Mutations.
Starts to control you as it holds you.
KMUZ Turner.
Here, a second encounter with Saturn further reduces the comet's orbital period to decades.
88.5 FM and 100.7 FM in Marion and Polk County.
A comet may take 10,000 years between close planetary encounters, but in this computer study, we've sped things up.
Salem and Kaiser, taking over the entire planet at KMUZ.org.
A third encounter, this time with Jupiter, further reduces the comet's orbital period. Now, the comet must approach the sun and grow a tail every few years.
And we're just having some fun here in the studio. It's Mid-Valley Mutations on KMUZ. And, we have a couple of guests here in the studio. Hugo R.A. Paris, who just delivered a fantastic live set, and we were chatting and all that good stuff. Thanks for coming on down.
Thank you, Austin.
And, this time, not to be outdone, because before we just met and, he played a show at the Space, but this time he decided to bring a friend. And that's who we have here with us today. It is Derek Wilson, or I guess Hunter Wilson, technically.
Yeah,
get the whole name in there.
The whole shebang.
Yeah, and the funny part is that usually when I have guests on my show, I'm not usually prepared enough to have them plan to release albums on the day that they're on my show. Usually they come by and an album was released in the last year or something, they just give that to me. But you guys went out of your way to put an album out today.
We wanted to do it for you.
I thought that was really great. I was like, wow, this is really special. So thank you so much. And I mean, on that note, I know that I'm being a little bit flip, but how long has it been that you guys were working on these records? I mean, has this been I'd love to do this someday kind of project, or did you guys kind of go let's beat the clock? Can we get this done in a week? You never know with a project like this, what direction you guys take. So, you want to give a little background? How long has this been in the chamber, as they say?
I guess I'll go first. For me, I put out my first record on Beacon Sound in 2017, and pretty much immediately at that point I started preparing and writing new material for this new record, which is called Steel, Wood, and Air.
Okay.
So for the last 2 years, I've been writing, recording, working with the musicians I have on the record.
Mm-hmm. And we were talking a little bit off air, so pardon if I'm repeating, but you were saying that this is a highly composed kind of thing where you were making sure each track is kind of exactly the right way, but on the performances, it's it's in the room, it's one take, it's let's run through the song.
I want to, my music is more composed sort of classical-ish, and for that, I wanted to have a strict palette, and just not rely on overdubs, but sort of have everyone playing together and have kind of try and capture that energy when playing it.
Which is interesting too, because I think depending on what your background is, one is foreign and the other is easy. Because like I think we were talking again off air. I just recently tried to do studio work after basically only doing live work kind of my whole life. And I'm like sitting there going like, oh, how do you put a bass line in here after everything's already done? Like, what do I do? So it's been kind of funny to solve that problem after thinking, well, you just play it live, right?
Why not? Yeah, you start having to, you get creative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it sure works the other way too for people who are like bedroom artists. I know people who are like whizzes in GarageBand, and then like you get them in the studio to play like just a rehearsal set, and they're kind of like, let me run through this a couple times first. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, there's no wrong or right way, but at least for me, that's what I've enjoyed and what I feel most comfortable is being in the studio with everyone working together and kind of.
Now, had you done anything prior to Beacon, or were you working, like, did you solo releases or independent stuff, or is this kind of your first, like, foray into, I'm putting things into the world?
This is, before Beacon, I came up playing in just various different rock bands and kind of, like, have roots in, like, playing in punk rock shows.
Yeah. I think we may all have that in common.
Yeah, it's but I never really had any releases on a label, so it was always just like self-release stuff. And then as my interests sort of changed into writing instrumental music, more composed, formally composed stuff, was when I first got in contact with Beacon. And so
the timing was actually kind of perfect for you creatively to kind of, this move makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's funny how many people often make the attempt to like, oh, this label's convenient. But hearing that, where, you're like, well, this was the creative move that actually made sense. Like, that's a really mature, step. Like, sometimes it takes people into their 50s before they're thinking like that.
Yeah, no, I feel lucky in that sense. Yeah.
Cool. Right on. Well, I think we've been jawing a little too much, so maybe we should move on to some performance stuff here if you're ready. So
so I'll be playing some. For the record, they're all full arrangements of like piano, viola, cello, bass, clarinet. But I'll be doing a couple of songs from the album Steel, Wood, and Air. Just reduced like piano versions for today.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I'm stoked that you came down. And for people who are listening, this is KMUZ. You're listening to Mid-Valley Mutations, and we're going to turn things over to Derek Hunter Wilson. Here you go. It's live, and it sounds like this. I was sitting here thinking about this because, like, I have the experimental music show on this radio station, and yet I'm listening to this, like, beautiful piano music, and it's, like, composer-driven, and I mean, this is what you'd usually hear on, like, a community station in a lot of ways. It's, like, something that's kind of, like, a little... And so some part of me is like, why is it that it's the experimental show that it takes to play something like this? Like...
It's the one I most feel home at, yes, at least.
There's something about it, though, too, where it's like, I have noticed this with people who are composers, where after a while, like, there's something about the way the regular music world is kind of designed where they end up in this realm, where it's like for some reason the rest of the world is too square or something, or not square enough, or
maybe I think a lot of other people that I know that in the field kind of have atypical backgrounds, not necessarily like I never went to school or trained. I grew up listening to rock and roll and electronic music, and
sure.
I think it seems a little more natural to kind of like be in these other areas that maybe are atypical of.
Sure, yeah.
Where you might find it.
Well, because I mean, in that short run of bits that you played there, it was kind of like this. I mean, you ran through almost like a Tim Story kind of sounding thing through to like Terry Riley, and like, I mean, obviously you're not playing a electronic keyboard or anything, but those elements are in there in different forms and progressions and whatnot, and it's just kind of when you strip it down to a regular piano, you realize how normal a lot of those performers are in a way. Where, like, I mean, it's not that they entirely depend on effects or anything, because, like, I still like that kind of playing.
No, for sure. Yeah, it definitely has its place.
Right. It's not that it has to be like a Kraftwerk kind of sound before I'm like into it. But like, certainly it reminds you that those players are not just like the keyboard player in a band,
Right.
That, like, it's not just kind of like I'm hitting the demo reel here and hoping that I'm getting the thing that's going to work for us this week.
Exactly.
But so you say you're like untutored or anything like that. Did you play keyboards in those rock and roll bands that you were talking about?
No, I played drums or guitar.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, those were my first instruments.
Wow. And all three of those are kind of like such different instruments in the way you approach them.
Completely. Although I find sometimes I play sort of rhythmically, which I think comes from just like playing drums as my first thing. Right,
because you're thinking in fours or 3/4 or whatever your particular counting is that week. Yeah, that's interesting too, because like I think a lot of my playing is filtered through bass, which was the first instrument I picked up.
Sure.
And I keep thinking about rhythm section, and I always worry about the low end and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And no matter what else I'm doing, I feel like that's my first concern. Is I was like, where's the rhythm section here? What's going on? And it's funny because like you don't really think about that kind of stuff when you're like playing guitar or a different kind of instrument.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Why? Completely.
Yeah. That's fascinating. Now, in terms of this new record, now obviously the piano is like one dimension of that album, because when you listen to it, there's other performers, and it's there's more.
Definitely.
Do you find having to translate to a solo performance part of the job, that like now that it's done, you're kind of like in this other realm where you're like, oh wait, now I've got to backtrack or recreate it?
Certainly, yeah. I think for me, I have. One of the players still plays with me live, the bass clarinetist, so some of the arrangements are still kind of there, but for me, I personally don't like to play to like a backing track if I don't have to.
Right.
So for me, it's now rearranging the pieces and reimagining them in a live setting, and how I still keep the essence of what emotion and kind of energy I wanted in the piece originally, but how could it be different?
Right. Yeah. Because each place, each gig, each environment has a different.
And you have to be present and listening to what's happening. And
for sure. This is one thing that doesn't communicate in radio, but we're watching you play, and there's these moments where we're actually kind of like listening to you kind of feel out the next part of the song, and like you can kind of see it. It's almost like this tactile movement where like your whole body is kind of like moving into the chord or something like that. And again, lost in the audio form of radio, but visually, I mean, I think that's kind of what I mean, you realize very quickly when you see this performed that it's not just like a piano tune that you're like, you know, tossing off.
Yeah,
you're not like a hired jazz guy like, hey guys, got some tunes for you. You know, it's like, you know, like you can really feel, it's like somebody else who is on stage with a guitar, like their whole body is in this performance. So
yeah.
Very cool, very cool. Well, yeah, I think we should probably check in with the weather computer, and then
yeah, that's important.
How you guys feeling about maybe seeing where things go as an improvised jam? Like, excellent.
I'm down. Yeah,
cool. Good. I love this style. Okay, well, keep in mind, listeners, this is KMUZ Mid-Valley Mutations, and we've got some live improvised music coming to you shortly. Thank you very much, Hugo R.A. Paris. And Derek Hunter Wilson for coming on down and making the station sound a little classy this evening. This is kind of
thank you for having
nice.
us.
Yeah. So let's see what we got going on over here. Weather computer, what have you got for us this time? Oh, where are you, weather computer? Sometimes it's hard to find you. Ah, there you are. Weather computer, are you there?
Thank you, Austin.
Thank you.
This is the Mid-Valley Mutations weather computer, and here is a look at the local weather, brought to you by Derek Hunter Wilson. Check out the new album, Steel, Wood, and Air, out now on Beacon Sound. Reducing performances to the most essential live sonic interactions, this is a perfectly captured moment, beautifully performed and mixed exquisitely. Out today on vinyl. Get it now. Tonight, a few clouds. Low near 61 degrees. I would just sleep during the day if I were you. Winds north by northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour, with a 100% chance of me making the same ridiculous Cary Grant joke I make every single time. 10% chance of rain. Sunrise at 5:58 a.m. Tomorrow, mainly sunny. I guess they have to put that in for legal reasons. High around 90 degrees. But it'll get hotter soon. Just you wait. Winds north 10 to 15 miles per hour, with a 10% chance of rain. I kid, but the days are numbered. It'll be cold again before you know it. Sunset at 8:36 p.m. And that was a look at the local weather, brought to you by the weather computer, and Derek Hunter Wilson. Visit his Bandcamp page, DerekHunterWilson.bandcamp.com, to find more releases going back to 2016. I think you'll get a kick out of them. Well, that's it for this week. Let's get back to Austin and Mid-Valley Mutations.
All right, this is Mid-Valley Mutations, and you know, we've had a little bit of problems with comets tonight.
Since the dust and gas in the tail are lost forever to space, the comet must slowly be eroding. Pieces of it break off. Sometimes, as we've seen, they even strike the Earth. In a few thousand years, if a short-period comet hasn't hit a planet, it will have evaporated away almost entirely.
And, you know, I'm not sure what we can do to help with the comet problem, but I think a little jam might at least help settle us, you know, make us feel a little more comfortable. So this is Mid-Valley Mutations. Audience participation 503-990-6101. And we're going to just kind of, like, see where this goes. Enjoy.
and its core, which perhaps becomes an asteroid. Suppose I were a pretty typical comet. But about once every century, I would find myself careening inward, faster and faster, towards the inner solar system. By the time I would cross the orbit of Jupiter on my way to the orbit of Mars, I'd be heating up because I'd be getting closer to the sun. Evaporating a little bit. Small pieces of dust and ice would be blown behind me by the solar wind.
events in the present that endure for only billionths of a second. Telescopic ear is tuned to the invisible radio sky. It detects not objects, but the radio regions associated with them. And distances far beyond the range of the largest optical telescope.
That felt pretty good, gents.
First time playing together, yeah, it was really nice.
Have you guys jammed like that before?
No, never.
Never, really? Wow, because you guys had a little bit of a vibe going there that felt like you'd done that before. Which I guess just means that you guys are really good at what you do.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
It was fun jamming with you too.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. This is kind of, I figure people can listen to records any week. So
Yeah, let's do a nice ephemeral thing.
yeah, something in the moment. So we should probably run through a little bit more of how to get in touch with y'all, where to get the new records, obviously Bandcamp pages, that kind of thing, because I mean, people are probably sitting at home going like, I want to hear more. What do I get? Who do I call? What do I do? So give us a little rundown of like where we can catch you next and how to get your stuff.
Well, a good place to get both records is on wearebeaconsound.com because Beacon Sound is carrying both records. As far as my record is concerned, it's also available on jacktonerecords.com. Which is the other label who put it out.
Yeah, you guys kind of have like a dual thing going.
Yeah, it's a co-release. My previous records were released by Jacktone Records, and for this one, I just wanted to do something slightly different. I met Jacktone, Melissa, who runs Jacktone Records, in San Francisco back when I lived there.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of like, I don't know, it's a special time in my life when I had this opportunity and being in San Francisco and part of this community and just discovering all I got to discover at that time was just amazing for me.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Portland, and it was a challenge getting adjusted to a new environment and new friends. And it took me some time to meet people. I mean, Derek, when we met like a year ago, not even.
Something, yeah.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah, last summer.
So it took me a couple of years before I got to a point where I had this community here, and Beacon Sound is a strong actor of the community in Portland, so I felt like I wanted to embrace who I am fully, and who I am is someone who lives in Portland now.
Right.
So I think doing something with a local label and actor of the community by providing a record store, but also a place where we can discover music, and I'm pretty sure Derek and I met there. Lots of people hang out there. It's just a good place to go and browse and learn about music, or get surprised by something you've never heard before, or hear something you love again.
Right.
So it's also been for the last several years like a place for shows that maybe wouldn't normally be hosted in your typical venue.
Right.
Giving, DIY artists or smaller artists in the community, or touring also a space to go and be heard and perform. So
one of the best shows I played on my last little tour in March was at Specs, this record store in Kenton, in Portland, and they have this little stage in the back, and they were telling me, it's like, yeah, we put on shows every week, and it's
really special. Yeah,
pretty much stuff that's not going to be at the bars because there's no alcohol here. It's just about the music.
So buy your records at the record store, not on the internet,
please,
because you're not just buying the record, you're also contributing to a community of artists which will make new records, other records for you to enjoy.
I was thinking about this too, where like the people that make the records themselves are part of this community as well. It's like sometimes they feel like they get left out of the equation because the band is being underlined, but it's like these people are putting resources on the line to help us get our music out, and it's always very nice when they extend that olive branch.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I know you're on Bandcamp, and I guess there's a couple different places to find the new Hugo Paris.
It's the same, pretty much the same handles. HugoParisMusic.com. Facebook is Hugo Paris Music. Instagram is HGPRS, which are the consonants for Hugo Paris. Resident Advisor, Hugo Paris. And then what else is there? Twitter, Hugo Paris Music. Go at it. Tag me. I like being tagged.
And
tag you're it.
That's kind of what it feels like sometimes. No, I got to post something. Oh, yeah. And Derek, I know I found some links earlier, but you're pretty easy to Google as well. You got a Bandcamp page, and
Bandcamp is always the most preferred if you're ordering online or consuming digital or vinyl. Derek Hunter Wilson at Bandcamp, and Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud. It's all Derek Hunter Wilson. So
yeah. And I think we were talking about this earlier as well. The vinyl records should be in your hands shortly. So if people want an actual record, and not just a digital thing,
you can stream it now or buy digitally. But the records are being shipped right now, and shortly they'll be arriving at record stores. So it's exciting.
It's funny to think that this is the year 2019, and we don't have some weird future format. We're all still looking forward to records. Like I would have never called that as a kid.
No, yeah. Well, how could you? Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, I mean, people are putting out tapes and CDs still too. So it's like time has kind of frozen in this weird unilateral way.
I'm okay with that though. Yeah, I don't know. There's something nice, and sometimes it's okay to be nostalgic and live in that. And
well, I was just talking to somebody about the digital thing where everybody got excited about digital music and music online and downloading and Bandcamp and whatnot, and nobody cashes in my download codes.
Interesting.
They take the CDs, they take the records, they take the tapes, but like the codes just kind of languish. And so I wonder if that's like a metaphor for like the future of digital music.
That's a good point. And your download codes don't linger around in the car like a CD would.
Right, so which will eventually get played after you are like, oh, I need something new.
Exactly.
So. Yeah, I think that everybody got really excited about computers and phones and technology and whatnot, and then now it's like 20 years later, and they're like, well, I still like my records and my tape player, and
it's nice to disconnect and kind of be off the phone for a little bit, off the computer.
Yeah. I was talking when we were camping where I was listening to a bunch of tapes with some friends, and I was like, nobody knows how many times we listen to these tapes. Our plays aren't being tracked by some,
There's not some,
they're not sitting there going like, we got to market some more of that grindcore album to that kid. He seems to really like it, So this has been a lot of fun, guys. Thank you so much for coming down here.
Thank you.
And we'll put some links in the show notes for this afterwards so people can find your stuff and things. And wow. Thank you. This has been a great night.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah,
really
absolutely. It's KMUZ, it's Mid-Valley Mutations. We're winding down. And what can I say? You guys are wonderful. You guys are beautiful. And without you, there would be no program. Be seeing you.
Careening inward, faster and faster, towards the inner solar system. By the time I would cross the orbit of Jupiter on my way to the orbit of Mars, I'd be heating up because I'd be getting closer to the sun. Be evaporating a little bit. Small pieces of dust and ice would be blown behind me by the solar wind.
Mid-Valley Mutations.
Forming an incipient cometary tail. On the scale of such a solar system model, I, me, a cometary nucleus, would be smaller than a snowflake. Although, when fully developed, my tail would be longer than the spacing between the worlds.